Being wine lovers, we had the opportunity to go to Paso Robles, California to visit 15 wineries in 5 days. In this video, we visited Sculpterra Winery and Sculpture Garden.
Sculpterra is an incredible place. While we enjoyed the wines, what we most loved is the incredible grounds and the art that just surrounds you everywhere you go. So make sure you leave plenty of time to explore the property.
Yeah, if you love wine and you love art and you love sculptures, you are in for a treat because they're all in one place at Sculpterra.
Follow along, and during this series, you can journey with us. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, this was definitely a picturesque thing.
Really pretty. That's cool. Look at that. Look at you with your fancy hat. Damn. I didn't know we had to wear fancy hats here. You look very European, sir. Oh, nice horse.
Our wine host at Sculpterra was Darren Brown. He is a photographer and one of the featured artists at the property. He is also responsible for curating part of Sculpterra's wine library.
He was incredible, as you can see in this video. If you're very interested in the history of Sculpterra, he gives us the complete rundown from the time the land was bought until where we are today. And he really took the time to explain everything to us. So we're very grateful we got him as our host.
Yeah, and you can tell he loves his job.
We make over 20 different wines. Every month we select 8. The official line is you get to choose 6 as part of your tasting. We generally do 6 out of 8 for a time schedule thing, but we've got time, we start on time too. So what I like to do is just start at the top, work our way down the list, keep you all on the same page, and if there's time we get to try all 8. I'm allowed to do 8, so we can. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Where are you from?
Arizona.
Oh.
Where are you from?
Plymouth in England originally.
Nice.
Yeah, let's get started with some Chardonnay. We'll work our way down the list and I'll give you a bit of the history for our new visitors here. Of course, first for all the wine tasting, you don't have to drink it all, so feel free to dump out whatever you don't need as we go along.
We've been fairly good at that.
It's non-alcoholic use, it's good behaviour. So, no, we got visitors' guides you're welcome to. I'll give you a bit of the story here. So it's a family doctor and his wife own property here. They originally started buying land in the 70s to get away from LA, horse ranch retreat. Dr. Franklin is 76 now, he's still working hard, he's got a practice in Templeton, family physician. When he was a teenager, he'd always loved, fell in love with art. He did a trip to Europe and saw a sculpture garden in Norway that was his main inspiration. So, friend of mine, he'd always loved art. So he and his wife started buying land here in the 70s. They bought 90 acres. It was just a horse ranch retreat. The first thing they planted was pistachios, page here. So there's our map in the right direction. These days, it's 260 acres with about 140 acres planted with vines. But back in the late 70s, it was this 90 acres they started with. And the first thing they planted on it was pistachio trees, of course, so 30 acres of pistachio still here. They moved here in 88, started planting Cabernet Sauvignon grapes a few years later, intending to sell the fruit. The youngest son, Paul, was only 7. Paul's now 35. He's been a winemaker since he was 22. So he studied at Mount Holly, did the enology viticulture. These days we've got 12 different grape varieties growing here. The Chardonnay that you have, we don't grow. We buy the fruit from the Chardonnay. But it's super ripe, no oak, it's all done in stainless steel. Yeah, it seems to be with Chardonnay, really, you've got a choice. You can either pick super ripe and do it in steel, or pick it less ripe and use oak barrels to go mellow it out, give it more age worthiness. Some people do picking ripe and oak barrels, but a lot of winemakers are kind of moving away from that style now, one or the other. Yeah, all of our single varietal wines most of them have our Golden Morning cut. This was our favourite sculpture from Northwest. Okay, so bearing in mind Dr. Frankel's love of art, a few fortuitous events happened really on me. So, Bob Bentley used to work locally for the Martin and Wyrick property developing company. So he used to do gates and railings. He was the head of a team of blacksmiths for them. Extraordinary blacksmith. He was, working locally. He's been with us though since 1998. Bob's iron shop is now right here in the centre of the property.
Very cool.
Technically he's retired now, but we still see him all the time. It just means 3 days a week instead of 5 now. But of course the gates up front, that's a year's work, 2 tons each. Just extraordinary. But you'll see Bob's work throughout. Some of it's bigger, like the chandeliers and the beams here, but even the little embellishments around the door frames, subtle things here and there, you'll see Bob's work. And you would think meeting Bob would be enough, but the owners then also met John Jagger. He was a designer for IBM in the 50s, working out of San Jose. Very talented guy, very creative. So he apparently had a 10-minute welding lesson and then bought the gear, burnt his kitchen floor up teaching himself how to weld. Entered his first sculpture competition in I think 61, quit IBM in 65. He was making more money from welded sculpture.
Wow.
So in the 90s he was living in the Atascadero, met the Frankels at church one day and ended up here on salary. So John was with us for 5 years, and this ended up being his big final project, really. He retired in 2007, moved off to Texas, passed away in his 80s about 8 years ago. But now I think we've got the largest collection of his work anywhere, but there's still more to find, so we're always on the lookout for more John Jagger. So he put in 12 before he retired, but we now have 15 larger pieces, plus smaller stuff, and we'll get things like this, this we found on a popular auction site about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, now and again we'll come across more of his work.
So cool.
And I think he taught himself how to weld, and bronze welding became his signature. He was a wrestler and a bodybuilder in his youth.
It was like it's literally you could see like groups and
That's cool.
very cool.
Okay, so in 2014 we had Dale Avers come in to continue the sculpture process here. He's from San Diego originally. He was a student and friend of John Jagger for a time. So he's brought his own style. He's got 11 larger pieces.
That was cool. I know that's right.
His daughter Chloe is also a sculptor and artist. She makes some jewellery for Dale in the case here. So of course we've got all this wall space. It seems only fitting we should have more artists here. Steve Kalar did our first labels back in 2005. He still works with us. In fact, he does the bigger projects of this art wall installation on the far side of the property here. 80 feet of painting, 100 feet of photographs telling the story of wine in California. And then in here, we've got 2 walls that change monthly, sometimes 2 months, bringing new artists. Now and again, we'll like somebody's stuff and have to keep some. So we've got a growing collection of artists. The ones that,
Primarily local.
yeah. So I seem to be taking over a bit here. I've got some photography on the wall behind you.
Oh, nice.
But I've also got photography on that wall and that wall and that. So I've got to take over. But yeah, we got Chaz Roberts, he did the grapes over here. And then we got visiting artists on these 2. Robert Maha's works in the Bower room here. Yeah, often 15 or so different artists at any given time. So our biggest selling wine last year was white wine, Viognier. I think with all the reds here, we should be our biggest seller.
And then they'll put it back.
Because about 50 years ago, Viognier was almost extinct. It was a minor grape in the south of France. The Condrieu wines tend to use Viognier predominantly. But now it's everywhere. It seems to be gaining popularity. I love it. It's not quite so floral as some Viogniers. Residual sugar is less than 1%, so it's considered dry, but only just less. So there's a little touch of sweetness.
Out here, this is what your stroll would be. You could walk up here and you'd be like, oh yeah, look, let's check out the grapes. And you just be walking through. Well, hopefully I won't get shot for like walking through here. But this is it. This is what it'd be like if you were oh, look at the little, it's so cool, tiny little. You're walking through the vineyard to pick grapes. This is what it would be like. This is really cool. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for doing this, but until somebody yells at me, I'm gonna do it. So you guys get the experience. All right, I'm gonna cut through. Look at this cool watering system that they have. This is how they get watered. Oh, I'm gonna cut through. Oh, I stepped in mud. Oh. My sneakers are totally full of mud. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's all right. Anything for the YouTube channel. I'm sure Chris and Carolyn and Joel have left without me at this point, so I'll probably have to Uber to the next winery, but I wanted to give you guys the real experience. I took you right into the vineyard. That's pretty freaking awesome. And I didn't get shot in the back for doing it, which is kind of cool.